What's going on, everybody? Happy New Year. Welcome to all the Ghost Squad and the Clover Tech crew. This is the Ghost and Clover podcast New Year's edition. We're just going to come on for a few minutes to say what's up. Hope everybody has a great or has had a great New Year's. And we're going to talk about some stuff maybe coming up in 2023. What's going on, Clover? How you doing, bud?
I'm well. I'm tired, but
Yeah,
but
you've
I'm
been
but I'm
busy
well.
today.
But I'm well. Yeah, grandbaby's whooped on me a little bit today. It was horrible.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, looking forward to obviously. I mean, hopefully everybody has had a great holiday. Looking forward to 23 and all the what I think good things will come out of 23. But speaking of that, yeah, that's some of the things we're going to talk about is behind the scenes, we spent what 15, 20 minutes trying to figure out some ways to do this. The Ghost and Clover podcast is going to become a more regular thing. So, but in order to do that, we've got to figure out some of the behind the scenes facilitations and
And I
other
think we just
things.
did, actually.
Yeah. Well, we've still got intros,
Parts of it.
outros,
Yeah.
artwork, scheduling,
Yeah.
sponsors. It's going to be a shot thing in case
Yeah.
anybody out there is wondering. We're going to seek to have, try to have things covered on it. So, yeah, we're going to talk a little bit about that, I'm sure, and we'll tell them what other stuff as we move along.
G says, question, what 23 things that are good about 2023? I don't know, dude. It's the first day of 2023. I have no idea. I'm not smart enough to think of 23 things in general, but no, yeah. What we're going to be doing is we figured out a little bit through the StreamYard side about how to able to stream to both of our channels. Now, what we are going to be talking about tonight a little bit is the plans of having the actual Ghost and Clover podcast, an official podcast. So it'll probably end up having its own YouTube channel if we go that route, plus its own podcast channel and all of that, to where we'll be able to get that out there. It's not going to necessarily be mine or his. We're going to kind of create this together as its own separate entity. So that'll be kind of cool. And the reason why we started doing this, we've been doing these Ghosts and Clovers for a long time, but we were talking on the phone about a month or so ago, and people don't realize, I'm sure you guys all have friends you talk on the phone and have really great conversations, and very few times do Clover and I actually talk gun stuff. It's usually all sort of weird stuff, but we always get done with like, man, that should have been a podcast, been a great podcast. And we've been joking about that forever. But we decided, kind of like, hey, why don't we actually do this like on a regular basis? Now, we don't know if it's going to be a weekly or a bi-weekly or a monthly or whatever. And that'll maybe depend upon what happens at SHOT as well. But yeah, it's going to be one of those things that we're going to have fun with it. It's not going to just be gun talk. It could be cooking. It could be baseball cards. It could be music. It could be music, movies, whatever. It's going to go down one of those things, and we'll have joint custody of this baby for sure. Yes, we will, Mike.
Yeah, and I don't know. I mean, I'm thinking about too. Probably it'll be a simulcast thing, and it will go to both the main channels or the main channel and both of the individual channels. But I'm thinking that once it's off air, I'm probably going to end up unlisting it on my side anyway. So the only way the replay is going to be available will be on that dedicated to Ghost and Clover channel. And that's just because that gives us the fluidity to talk about various things, various topics, and everything else, right? It's not pigeonholed into the firearm, the outdoor, that sort of thing. I've run my course with doing unrelated things, or at least very many unrelated things on a regular basis on a main channel, and it doesn't usually work out really well, or it hasn't for me.
No, it's one of those things that we're not naive to think that we can't utilize or we shouldn't utilize our two main channels, because that's where our audience is. And until we build up that Ghost and Clover, channel of its own, the podcast channel that we make on YouTube, we're going to have to utilize our own channels for a while. But like you said, once that goes off air, then yeah, go ahead and probably unlist it. Might even, I don't delete it necessarily, but unlist it and just have the only archive of it basically be on that Ghost and Clover channel. Now, the cool thing is, and I haven't even talked to Clover this, I want to kind of surprise him with this.
Wow.
Yeah. So, Clover and I, we talk a lot about doing different collaborations through videos. And I don't know if we're thinking about this or not, but that Ghost and Clover channel could also be an archive and a destination if we ever do like actual like videos, collab videos to where,
I
we
think
can
so.
put them on our own channels, but that would also be a cool place. Anything that's kind of Ghost and Clover would kind of be that channel where you can get not just podcasts, we might even do some content over there as well. You never know.
Yeah, and it's one of those things that I don't know. I mean, it could take on a lot. You never know, and that's one of the things when you start a new idea, you start playing around with a new idea. I mean, it could grow into a monster. Who knows where it
Yeah.
goes, right?
Right.
And that's having, I think, delusions of grandeur to think that's going to happen, but um, it could. Um, but I mean, I like the idea of that being there, even though it's going to be autopilot over there, right? Like if
Yeah.
the whole point is for our audiences to, intermingle a little bit. I mean, if that
Yep.
is the case, but not really, right? You can still, best way to engage with me will be on the Clover Tack channel. The best way to engage
Right.
with Ghost will be on the Ghost Tactical channel. The best way to engage with us both together is jump into the live chat out there when
Yeah.
we do the Ghost and Clover, right? So it's a collaboration, but yet at the same time, it kind of keeps everything separate, and I like that.
Yep. Kind of one of the things that I wanted to throw out there. And Marcus says Ghost and Clover on a Sunday. Love this. Happy New Year, guys. Happy New Year, everybody out there. Hope everybody was safe last night. Everybody's had a great day, maybe watching football or whatever the hell you did. But Happy New Year as well to everybody out there. I'm not able to, I don't think I'm able to see anyone on what's going on your side of the chat. I think what I'm able to see is on my side of the chat. So
I think
I don't know that.
you should be able to see it all.
Well, it just says it
So
doesn't say which one it's coming from. That's the only problem.
so
So I don't know.
comment out there. This is a little bit of a test.
Yeah.
A pre-run. Comment out there which channel you're watching from.
Yeah, there we go. Just put Clover or Ghost in the comment, whichever channel you're actually watching this
Because
from.
I
Please
know
see
we're
if I tell
showing
you.
viewers from both sides. So
Yeah,
comment out there and let us know. That way we know that we're picking up both sides of the conversation. We don't want anybody out there to be left out, for sure.
so G23 says Ghost, and I'm just waiting to see. Buck says Ghost. I'm hoping I'm able to see stuff from your channel. Okay, so Guy Null is out there. It says Clover. So there you go. So a couple of people say Clover. Okay, so I am able to see. Okay, cool. That's a cool thing because I wasn't really sure if I was going to be able to do that.
Yep.
So I'm gonna put a post and just says Ghost. I'm gonna put that out there, and I want to know if people on the Clover side can see my comment as well in the Clover channel chat. Can you see my post? It just says Ghost on it from me. Or is it just going to my channel? I don't know.
Don't know. It's a good question. I think it's just going to go to yours.
Okay.
It looks like it's just going to yours because I went over there. But here's the thing. When we do this in reverse, because the plan is for Ghost and I to alternate.
Yeah.
When we do this in reverse, like right now, I got the ability to comment, but when I do, I'm commenting as you.
Or you can drop down and make it to yours. So like,
yeah,
like you can change it. Yeah, you can change like up right where it says edit on the top right where the broadcast button is. It says, it says Ghost and then you. I think if you click on you and then post a comment, I think you're posting as yourself at that point. Let's try something.
We'll send one under the Clover now. And let me
Test for
go over
Clover. I
to.
see it. I saw it.
So yeah, it's not. It will not send to both destinations, but if you switch them, it will. So that's interesting. Well, that's
Yeah.
good to know. At least I can.
Monitor yours, and I
Whoa.
can monitor it. And we
Yeah.
both can post, and we both can highlight both sides of the chat. So we're good to
Yeah,
go on
and
that.
that's good to know too for even for Tuesday nights now.
Yeah, it is.
Like
It is. Yeah.
like I think now may I never clicked down there to even see, and so that's maybe I can do that from now on because I always got to open up another, the stream in a window and
Yeah.
then mute and pause and do all that so I'm not wasting internet to be able to monitor the chat and talk and do other
Yeah.
things. So
Exactly. Yeah, we're finding all sort of good stuff.
yeah, it's all a learning curve.
Yeah. So let's see here. G23. I'm starting to like you a little bit more. I'm going back to the Ghost Tactical channel. He said he felt too fuddish being over here on the Clover Tack side, so he's going to come back to the cool people table. I don't know. Yeah.
Good riddance. Fuzz,
Although he shoots 40, so is it
here's
really?
the thing.
Do I really want him on my
Yeah, you
side?
can have him. Yeah, you can have him. Yeah. Shooting 40, he's definitely going to be the last one picked on the playground. I can guarantee you.
Yes.
But yeah, good riddance. What I got to say, and you're not bothering me because Spuds don't care anyway, right? That's the whole point.
That's right. That's kind of the point, I guess. Sure. Yeah. A couple of questions that I kind of want to ask the audience. Kind of going through the Ghost and Clover idea, the podcast, and all of that. Whether it's, like I said, whether it's weekly, bi-weekly, monthly, whatever it's going to end up being. What kind of stuff would you like to hear us talk about that may not be gun related? I mean, do you guys have a problem with talking cooking and food or music or movies or politics of the day or literally whatever? Is that something you guys would be interested in hearing different topics? And what we're trying to do is, I think most people know us pretty well, Clover, as far as what they've seen on YouTube, as far as what we think and how we believe and what we shoot, what we like and dislike in the firearm world. But I don't think a lot of people, and by design, I know that I'm the biggest person, you're the biggest person on letting people too close to our personal lives, but maybe this will give us a way to kind of tell people who we are about things, about cooking. And also, everyone likes food, everyone likes music, everyone likes movies, TV shows, comedians, all sorts of stuff, entrepreneurial stuff. Politics. We all like those kind of things. And is that something you guys would be interested in? Because I think that it'd be fun to be able to talk and maybe kind of give people a little bit of insight of kind of what we do when we're not doing gun stuff.
Yeah.
He says, we want to hear about your mountain hikes, and I'm not talking about all those. I'll get
Well, and another thing, it may be worth putting a poll out. Both of us putting a poll out, same poll on each of our channels, and kind of pulling some data and seeing what happens, but also getting the day and the days and the times and the stuff like that. Now we've got to get closer to time. I mean, we're a month, I would say, roughly away from this happening. I mean, I think we'd like to get it done as quickly as we can get it in motion after shot, right? So there's still some behind the scenes and some things to consider, but kind of getting an idea of that. Because here's the thing. I mean, in the recording this and then putting it over in the audio podcast world is where it's at. Sadly, you're going to have very little traction post, long form content post live. So if we're not having it at a time where people are going to be able to jump in live, you know what I'm saying? Then that could potentially be problematic as far as the engagement side of things anyway. And that's why you see us record live and then port over to that audio world, right? Is we like the live aspect.
That's right. Me and your mom says, how do you feel about the Ruger P89? I don't, if I have shot it somewhere, I don't know that I have. I don't remember thinking the wrong one. That's kind of like the that's kind of like a full size 9mm if I'm not mistaken.
Uh-huh.
I'm not so sure that I've got any experience with that.
Yeah.
I know that it's a $400 gun or something like that. So I don't know that if I have, I don't remember any experience. Have you ever shot that, or do you know much about it?
I own one.
Okay, so there you go. What do you think about it?
Yeah. Phenomenal. Um,
Okay.
they've been that is the workhorse, and just tank is a word with when I hear the P series on the Rugers. I mean, they're so solid. I mean, they really are. And they're not they're fairly large frame. They're depending on your taste, I wouldn't necessarily say they were sexy or anything like that.
Yeah.
Um, but they run and they're reliable. Um, and so when you talk about cost or price, I mean, I can remember when on the used market you could find one for 150 or $200.
Oh,
Um,
really? Okay.
yeah, those
I've
days are
always I've always seen them around like 350 to
yeah,
400. I don't know what they are now. I haven't seen them forever.
yeah, those days are over. I mean, the cheapest one I've seen in any type of recent times, last few months, talking about the Wanamaker Tulsa Arms Show, whatever. Yeah, you're talking easily 300 plus
Yeah.
nowadays, easily.
Yeah.
And honestly, I don't know. It's hard to beat the reliability and just the proven concept of that. I mean, for a home defense handgun anyway.
Yeah,
Wouldn't be
I,
the
I
greatest
remember.
carry
I
piece.
remember getting maybe at least for me, me not
Yeah,
being a big guy. I don't think it'd be a concealed carry option for me because it is, a 7.5 inch gun altogether. It's like a 4.5 to 5 inch barrel. I mean, it's a full size gun, and I remember it being pretty beefy. So I don't think for me it would be a concealed carry option, but for a bigger
nah,
person, it very well could be.
maybe, but even then, I don't think so. It's just wide. You know what I mean? It's thick. It's just bulky.
See, Bug says we need to talk about revolvers. Wait, wrong side. Yeah, you need to go
That,
to Clover Tax channel if you want to
that's
do that
right.
shit.
That's right.
Budget out there. So I'm sorry, MK Outdoor Journal out there says, well, back then I paid around $5 for my P97 DC, but I really, really wanted it. So,
Well, that's about new price for them or so back in the day.
it says
The
I'm
the
roboting. I don't know. It might be my computer connection. I'm going to jump in on the
something.
phone and see if that's any better. And we'll go. Hold on just a second, okay?
Yeah,
You have the floor, quite kind
I
sir.
have the floor. Right. Does the gentleman yield? Yeah. Um. Yeah, the roboting that can definitely be an issue. I did hear some roboting, but it wasn't horrible. But yeah, talking about the P series, my favorite P series is the P90. I like the P series in that 45 ACP. It's just to me, it's a great platform for that. Um, for the 45 ACP.
All right, let's see if that changes things. On the phone, I've been having issues with the internet. If people know about me, I don't have internet at the house. I have to run it on hotspot and tethering, so it kind of gets iffy sometimes. So I'm on the phone. Does that sound okay now, guys out there?
Yeah, you were okay before. It wasn't like bad roboting. You just had that every now and then had a little echo type noise.
Okay. Let's see here.
Marcus out there talking about what about talking about historical guns, their origins, especially milsurp. So could be milsurps could definitely be a topic. You're limited to. Here's the thing. I don't know everything. Ghost doesn't know everything. So I don't know if we had a show. I don't know how much we could talk about the history of certain things, right? Like I know a little bit about a lot. I don't know a lot about anything. Makes sense.
Well, and there's also a chance that we've discussed a little bit about maybe bringing guests onto this show, the Ghost and Clover show.
Good, yeah.
And it may not be gun people that
But,
if we get a milsurp or something, maybe we
yeah,
can bring in someone that would maybe industrial side of things, industry
maybe,
side,
maybe. But
milsurp side.
here's my challenge to, because Ghost did throw it out there earlier. What would you like to see? Here's my challenge to those that are putting, putting your suggestions and stuff out there. Make sure you're looking at the grand scheme of things. Ghost and Clover has always been something different. Ghost and Clover's never been the Armed Citizen podcast, the Clover Tag podcast. And so we don't want, while suggestions are absolutely appreciated, if you're suggesting things that's already being done on the other two podcasts, then what's the point of doing this podcast? We want it to be different.
Yeah, this is going to be more, and I can't speak for Clover, but this is kind of how my vision of this is kind of what this podcast has always been, just random thoughts, random topics, not necessarily random, like just pull it out of our hats, but like non-gun things. Like I said, let's talk about, I know that you probably don't like talking sports ball a whole lot, but we can talk about whatever. And we're not limiting ourselves to the gun side. Obviously, firearms and the gun, the two-way is going to be involved in everything that he and I do. So there'll always be that side of it. But ultimately, we just want to do something that's fun, that kind of gives us a break from the insanity of everything else, and let us just kind of have fun talking,
We talked about, especially, if we get some sponsors and
old
like
cars,
that,
nice. We could do cars forever. Yeah.
If we get some sponsors, then one way to approach this might be to utilize the audience out there. Like
Absolutely.
you come up with 2 or 3 topics. I come up with 2 or 3 topics, and then whatever, right? You can pick, you can pick cars. I could pick restaurants, right?
Yeah, we do 15 minutes on each or whatever, or 30 minutes of each.
Have those 2 segments, and then it's free for all or whatever,
as
for the
Gary Report
remainder,
calls it, the
whatever
shit
situation.
shooting portion.
Kinda, yeah. But what's interesting about that is we could poll existing audiences on the topic choices for that week. So if we, if I was thinking, okay, well, I would really like to talk. I would really like to talk maybe Mexican food, or, I don't know, muscle cars, or maybe
So Buck's got a great
1970
idea.
sports.
We start putting different ideas down, and Buck says get like a giveaway drawing wheel, like we do on a channel, and you do, and just
like
randomly
that.
choose one,
Randomly,
or
that's
we just
nice.
or either that, even better, we put random people in there, and then they get to choose the topic. Now, understanding that it has to fit probably family side, side of stuff and all of that. But
You
I mean,
pick
yeah,
the top. Oh,
you
you pick the
something
topic.
like that. Like we do a 15-minute segment each, and then
And
the
then you
last
pick the
half
topic.
hour, the audience picks the topic.
Oh, I like
That could be
it.
really fun.
Yeah, we pick somebody. We just spin the wheel, or the spin the StreamYard giveaway thing.
Yeah, the wheel of topics thing. Either we can spin the
And
wheel
you
of
can,
topics, or we can spin the wheel of a person, and they get to choose. However we figure it out, we could probably do a little bit of both if we wanted to.
yeah, let me see. So what you can do is because I can do, ever since you've given me access to StreamYard, I've seen your um damn it, what's going on here? I've seen your streams pop up.
Yeah.
When I go to do the giveaway tool. The cool thing about the giveaway tool, I can go to Ghost Squad here, and I can do the giveaway tool, and I can start collecting comments. If you don't put in a comment, for those that don't know, on StreamYard, and I can present my window even. Check this out. Right, where's it at? Here. I can present the window. So if you don't put a word in the StreamYard tool, right, it just does anybody that's commented, right?
There you go.
So I mean, and then we just go here and we do this number right here, and whoever it lands on after we've done, gone through our 2 topics, So you basically would have 15 minutes, 15
Boom,
minutes,
George. All right, you get
15
10
minutes.
minutes or 15 minutes, whatever that is. You got 10 minutes or 15 minutes for a topic, George.
Mhm.
Put it out there and we go with it,
And we go with it. Yeah. Hmm.
Now, like Wood says, books. Sorry, Ghost. That's messed up, man.
Yes, that is a lot.
But I think what he's saying instead of politics, I think that politics can be interesting in a bad way. But he's saying books, drones, social commentary rather than politics. Yeah, absolutely. Talk about maybe some topics of the day, maybe our thoughts on it. And that's not necessarily our political views, because no one wants to hear us talk about our political views,
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Because I think overall, I mean, none of us are going to have the exact same. I mean, Clover and I have different political views in some instances. We align on about probably 90-95% of it, but no one ever was going to align 100% on their political views. So let's not make that 5% of our differences be what drives the conversation. Let's just we all agree on the big stuff. I would imagine on this chat at least. So
Well, and when it comes down to it, I sort of hate to be this way, but when it
it's
comes
private.
down to it, let's be honest about this. Everybody that's hearing this right now, this is a test run, a trial run. It was impromptu. Everything else, everybody's out there, 20 some odd people, whatever. They probably know where we stand on
Yeah,
politics.
that's what I'm
And
saying.
quite honestly, they're plugged in enough. Like, let's just have some fun. Like,
Yeah, that's what I want this to
you
be. I want
guys,
this to be the fun side, the
yeah,
fun chat, the
anybody
Joe
that's out there right
Rogan,
now
the
knows.
whatever.
Yeah,
Like let's
yeah,
just turn a microphone on
yeah.
and have fun and de-stress and not worry about life's problems for a little bit.
Yeah,
Let's just have a good time.
I've really liked, uh, Joe Rogan is a great one, but I mean, Club Random with Bill Maher. I mean,
Yeah,
I fell in
yeah,
love with that podcast, bro. And
yep.
I've never been this huge, Bill Maher fan or anything, but it's just the approach he takes at it. Like they sit
And you don't have
down
to
and
agree with his politics because it's really not
well, they
political,
don't talk about that really.
That's
I
what I'm
mean, they
saying. That's
do,
what I'm
but
saying. There's a lot of people that don't like Bill Maher's politics. I get that, but like you said, that podcast that he does isn't his HBO show, if you will.
right, yeah, and that's why he does it is because he don't have his HBO overlords, right? He can sit down, they can talk about whatever, he can say whatever, the guests can say whatever, it's all good. They smoke some weed or drink or whatever they want to do, and just they go down all sorts of weird rabbit holes with a conversation, and
Yep.
it's so interesting to listen to that sort of stuff.
Well, it's also kind of interesting, and you and I were talking about his podcast because, they're the last year, couple years of this podcast or of his show on HBO, you can start seeing a little bit of a different side of Bill Maher where he's not the drastic, anti this and anti that. You can start seeing him soften a little bit. But like you said, I think that now that he doesn't have the HBO overlords on his podcast, I think people are starting to understand that he's not what we thought he was 10 years ago, or maybe he's changed in the last 10 years. I'm not really sure, you know what I'm saying? But he's not exactly,
Yeah.
I'm not saying that I like the dude, like his politics and all that, but he's not exactly what I thought he was if you just went off
It's
his HBO show 10 years ago.
it's one of the things like, politically, probably don't agree, but maybe on 30% of stuff.
Maybe.
But would he be just a cool dude to hang out with?
I
Like
think you would.
I
Yeah.
think he would. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? I think it would be awesome to sit in the chair across from him and have a conversation. I mean, um, and so people get blinded by politics. That's one thing I don't want this show to be. I don't want it to be something where it's a galvanized echo chamber.
Yeah.
I don't want that kind of thing. I want it to be laid back, fun. If there is a point of contention, agree to disagree, and we move on. I mean, it's that simple.
Yeah. My new favorite, well, I'd say new non-military. I have a bunch of like military different podcasts, guys, that I listen. I love listening to different ones. But my new favorite like non-military podcast that I've been listening to a lot in the last month is called the New Heights podcast, and it's a sports
Yeah.
ball. It's a football one. Jason and Travis Kelsey, they're both all pros. Jason plays for the Philadelphia Eagles. Travis plays for the Kansas City Chiefs. But they have a podcast that comes up every Wednesday or Thursday called the New Heights Podcast, and it's like taken over like the sports world because they talk football but differently. It's not like talking about like their teams and all that. They talk about football for a little bit, and then it's like whatever the hell they want to talk about. And it's exactly what I envision this being. Can we talk guns? Yeah, we can talk guns for a few minutes. But overall, we just want to just hang out and talk. Like I said, de-stress, have a little fun, give everybody a way to just like get away from this normal stuff that they are, and almost use this podcast as a palate cleanser to the rest of the week or the month or
Well,
whatever everybody's listening to, you know?
and I mean, eventually, does it get to where because it's randomized um, topics and kind of is that flow? Does like I said, we don't know what kind of beast this will evolve into or whatever.
Yeah,
Does it get to a situation where we've got a mixture of audience? And like
sure.
if we do have a mixture of audience, then we have an opportunity. And I'm speaking to the diehard core people that are out there in the audience now, and it's more you guys have an opportunity. You guys
Yep.
have an opportunity to show that even though you are followers, watchers of, you know, pro firearm, pro 2A content, you're part of that lifestyle, that you're
Yeah.
also a regular person and you can have a conversation with the sports ball fan or the whatever. Now, you're not necessarily going to have a conversation on their level about their topic, the same as
Right.
they're not going to be able to have a conversation on your level about firearms,
Yep.
right? But we can still be cordial. We can still, let our hair down, kick back, and we can have some fun. And that's one thing I've noticed in Ghost. I mean, you have too, but especially this last Thursday over on the card channel
Yeah. Your card channel's got a
was
great
banging,
mixture of
man.
all sorts of different people.
Yeah, and
Absolutely.
it's you've got all the Clover Tech people, of course, that come over, which thanks for that. But then you've got the Clover Tech cards, card community. But even you got diversity within that. You've got the Pokemon people, and you've got the
Yeah.
hockey fans, and the baseball fans, and the
Yep.
football fans. So it's even more diverse than that. And it's a really cool thing to see. Um,
Yep.
and that's a similar amount, obviously no duplications, that's boring, but I would love
Yeah.
a similar feel to that.
I think that that's kind of what we're going for, and and to a certain extent, what Marcus was saying. He's saying it'd be nice just to have a place to express your opinions without all the censorship. And we're not, we're not saying we're going to censor what you say out in the chat. It doesn't mean we're going to have to talk about it, but once again, this is going to be hopefully this podcast is going to be kind of the campfire. You know what I'm saying? Hey, let's tell some stories. Let's laugh. Let's talk about our first cars and how trashy they were. Let's talk about some of the food that we've eaten or we're going to eat or we hate or let's talk
Dude.
about movies we like, music we don't like. Let's just everything that people talk about in general in regular life and not have to pigeonhole ourselves to the gun topics because I think that everyone enjoys talking those. But we both do podcasts like that. We do weekly shows, monthly shows, whatever. Plus, everyone else is doing one every day. So you've got plenty of that. Let's have a time to just relax and be friends and be humans and all of that. So,
Yeah.
I think that could be fun.
Yeah. Yeah, first car, or not first car, but an interesting story with that.
Yeah.
79 Toyota Celica. Man, I wished I had that thing nowadays, right?
Yep.
Even in the condition it was in, I wished I had it. But friend and I worked who owns an auto shop now, believe it or not. So, kind of stuck with the mechanic aspect he did, but worked on that thing after school, whatever, for like an entire week. And we had no battery. We were jumping it off, so it had no battery, and it had no passenger seat. Part of the console, if I remember correctly, was missing. Thing had like 3 different sizes of tires all the way around it. It was, you talk about a pile, man. It was a pile.
Yeah.
But we got
Those are
it
the best,
running.
though.
We got it running and never killed it. Thank God it didn't die. But we drove. That was our first foray into going up and hanging out on the courthouse
Yeah.
square in town. You know what I mean? When we were
Oh
young.
yeah.
Um, I didn't keep that car very long because it needed so much work, and I
Yeah.
fell into something else. But I think back, and I mean, '79 Celica, man, is a pretty sweet ride. I was like, I wish I had that. I could fix it up or whatever nowadays.
Yeah, mine was a 1965 Mustang. I was very lucky. My grandfather died when I was 13, and he left a little bit of money, a few $1,000s, to have my first car. And so my dad, I should say, my dad found the 65 Mustang, and it was in decent shape. I mean, it ran. We spent the next few years, getting everything ready to go. So when I turned 16, it was ready to go. Now, it did not have power steering, so and it was also an automatic, and it was a hardtop. But for a 16-year-old, I had a 65 Mustang hardtop with 289 in it. Still ran pretty well. Ran great, as a matter of fact, we kept it all the way to about we sold it about 7, 8 years ago, maybe 9. Yeah, it's less than 10 years ago, to a friend of my daughter's, and all that. But yeah, the old cars. The great thing about the old cars, and I would say even up to maybe the early '80s, when everything kind of started trying to go the electronic stuff, the '60s and '70s cars, they were pretty simple. Like, some of them broke down, you pretty much knew what it was. You didn't rely on the electronic chips to fail, or the sensors to fail. It was, if it's not running, it's one of three things, and you can pretty much figure out how to make it work again. So there's a lot to be said about the old style cars that didn't rely on electronics so much.
Yep.
Uh, Wood says difference between regions, soda versus pop. So I'm from Dallas, and Clover's from Texas. Now I've changed it since I moved here in Arkansas. I call everything a soda now. But growing up in Dallas, we called everything a Coke back in the day. And I say, "What do you want to drink?" "I want a Coke." "Oh yeah, what kind?" Dr. Pepper." But it wasn't soda or pop in Dallas. At least where I grew up, everything was, you called it a Coke. And
Yeah.
then they'd ask you what kind. A Coke could mean Dr. Pepper or Mr. Pibb or RC Cola or Sunkist, but you call it, "I want a Coke." "Okay, what kind of Coke do you want?" "Oh, I'll take a Dr. Pepper."
Yeah.
We called everything a Coke. I don't know. What about you? Like, when you grew up, would
It
you call
was
it soda or
pretty.
pop or what?
Yeah, I was growing up. It was always it was both, and I know that sounds like a cop out, but it was literally soda pop.
Yeah,
That
so I never
referred
call it soda
to
pop. I would call it either soda or
yeah.
Coke.
So soda pop referred to the carbonated, RC Cola, Coke,
Yeah,
Dr Pepper,
sure.
that sort of thing. Right? Was a soda pop. And then or sometimes soda. Like I said,
Yeah.
if it was ever pop, when you're talking about those things, it was usually integrated with the soda. They went together.
Yeah.
Now, growing up, and this was just a distinction that my grandfather drew. If it was any type of a fruity drink, so
Like a Sunkist or something, or are you
if we're
talking about like
talking
orange juice?
like new grape or grapette or
Okay.
high
Like
C
a grape soda type
or
thing.
even Kool-Aid, or
Oh, okay.
if
So,
it was any type of a fruit, Hawaiian punch, right? If it was
yeah.
any kind of a fruity thing, and this just kind of come from my grandfather, then it was called pop, just straight up pop,
Right.
right?
Okay.
So
Okay.
soda was like the RC, the Dr Pepper, the Coke, the
Yeah.
Tab, the whatever, that Pepsi, that sort of thing, right?
People don't know what
That's
RC is. People don't know what Tab is, probably most these days.
probably not. Yeah,
If you're not our age, you don't know what Tab is.
yeah, yeah, yep. RC,
uh,
Royal Crown Soda.
Royal Crown Soda. Yeah. Yeah. Man, I don't even I'll just touch this real quick. We're not going to go deep into it, but Marcus says, "How do you guys feel about trans men competing in women's sports?" I could care less what people want to do with their lives when it comes down to competition in sports. If you were ever a man, if you were listed as your birth certificate as a man, then I don't believe they should be competing in women's sports. There is a physical advantage they have, and that's just a fact about it. If you're a man, compete with the men. If you're a man who's ranked 200th in the world and you know you're never going to get above that, and so you try to go trans so you can compete at the world stage, then that's your own problem. But no, I don't believe that should happen. Men's sports, women's sports, and I think it's what's on your birth certificate. That's what you compete at. That's just me. Let's see here. They're talking about now G23 is getting ready to get banned for sure. He was talking about how In-N-Out is better than Whataburger. So yeah, we're not going to touch that one because I think you're getting ready to get kicked out of here.
Well, I think on Marcus's thing, I mean, that's one thing that it's so beat to death. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it is.
And so, and I'm not saying that in a disparaging way. It just is. You know, the first thing I say about it is you need to be asking the women the biological women that are competing in those sports against the trans athletes, right?
Yeah.
Or male. I mean, it could go both ways. There could
Sure.
be a whatever, a trans male or whatever you want. I get confused with all of that, right? But it could go the other way, and maybe the biological males, are uncomfortable with it. I don't know. So I mean, first I say that you need to talk to that league or the competitors right in that league or whatever. And then the second thing I think is you've got to have a realistic thing. I mean, we know that PEDs are a thing, right? Like and testosterone and too much can be considered that. So the Olympics has rules, the international sports stages and stuff like that have certain rules that apply to that and everything else. So even if it's a situation to where those that are being competed against are accepting, I still think that 100% completely accepting. It's like, okay, that's fine. I still think there needs to be some kind of uniformity, right, in the governing rules and stuff like that. Like the problem I get, and this is where whether you're talking about the alphabet letter movement or whether you're talking about racial things or whether you're talking about sexism or whatever, right? It's like there's all this talk about equality, and if you have a conversation with the people, with somebody long enough, right? It's like that really is pushing this equality train.
Yeah.
Like they're not talking about equality because equality is a level playing field, right?
Yep.
And it's like there's a big difference between, and there's a couple of memes that explain it very well, but there's a difference between equality and equity. And what they're talking about is equity.
Yep.
They're talking about bringing people up to a level or pushing people down to a level, right? To create that playing field rather than the playing field being level
itself.
To start with.
Yeah. Talking about the earning power being equal instead of the actual competition being equal, because it's tough. It's a tough thing, and this is not necessarily my opinion, but I do tend to listen to the people that are experts. And I listened to a guy once, and they were talking. This is about a year or so ago, when the whole U.S. women's national soccer team was talking about equal pay because the men are going to make 2 or 3 times as much for playing in a World Cup, let's say, than the women are. And they're talking about the NBA versus the WNBA. Why are the NBA players getting paid so much? The WNBA players are not. And it does come down to equity. It does come down to dollars and cents. Let's just be honest. And it made very good sense to me. This was a guy who played in the NBA. And it's one of those things where, an NBA team's going to seat a 20,000 state arena. They're going to fill it, and they're going to sell out 80 some odd games a year. So they have X amount of dollars coming in. A WNBA team is going to average about 2,000 people for about 20 games.
Right.
The dollars right there tell you that as far as equitable, as far as contracts and salary, they can't be the same. If the WNBA could sell out an arena for 80 games, or I guess it'd be 40 games, 40 home games, then they probably would be paid the same. But it's not the case.
But it's a different game.
It is a different game. Now, I enjoy watching the WNBA. I also enjoy watching LPGA golf more than I do PGA Tour golf, because the ladies actually it's more fun to watch. They're actually hitting normal shots instead of trying to overpower a golf course, which it's fun. But as far as the money side of it, yes. An individual with sponsors and all that can make as much money as the market says they can make. But as far as salaries and all of that, it's all up to what the public is going to support. And a WNBA owner can't pay someone $25 million a year if they're only making $20 million as a team. It's just not going to happen,
Yeah. Yep. Marcus throwing out all kind of good stuff out there. That's the kind of stuff to me that's fun to talk about, though.
Let's see here.
Yeah, he says,
I love that one.
yeah, okay, here's a good one. Do you think people who legally smoke weed and have weed smoking cards should be able to possess firearms? I have a friend in New Jersey who was denied a license because of
Mhm.
it. So, I will say this weed, and I think we're moving into times where we're going to see this happen. Um, there's been a movement with weed a lot like constitutional carry. Quite honestly, it's kind of moved the same direction.
Yeah.
We're moving into a point to where, as long as it's on the federal list or whatever schedule,
Yep.
um, it's going to be problematic, and it definitely needs to come off at this point. I
Yeah.
think there's probably quite a few drugs that need to come off,
Well, as
but that
long as
absolutely
weed is
needs
a
to come
question
off.
on the 4473, then
Yeah,
that's going to be an issue. We
you
need to
know,
work on obviously abolishing the
we
4473, but
yeah
take that weed question off because that opens the doors.
yeah
There's a reason why I take CBD, but I don't take the THC side of it. I
right
have an opportunity to get my medical marijuana card here in Arkansas, but I won't because I know that that might cause a problem with the
be
firearm
problematic.
side of it.
Yeah,
So I don't do that. I think that weed, honestly, and I think it will. It might take 5, 10 more years, but I think weed's going to be looked at more like alcohol.
it
You
needs
don't,
to be. Yeah,
that's just the way it's going to be
yeah,
going. I think.
yeah. And and weed, I don't know. I mean, I've never really heard any stories of people getting stoned and then being violent. You know what I mean? Whereas you hear violent drunk all the time, right? You hear
Sure.
that
Yeah.
type of thing all the time. So in a way, that's what has aggravated me for many, many years. I mean, I grew up in the Just Say No, right? Nancy
Sure.
Reagan and all that
Nancy
stuff, and
Reagan. Yeah. Yeah.
Dare and whatever, and
This is your
oh,
brain on drugs. Yeah.
marijuana's bad, okay, and it's like, and then, but as I've gotten older, it's not like I'm a pothead or anything else, but as I've gotten older, I'm like,
I once was.
I see the alcohol, and I'm like, how can you, justify, even hard drugs? Seriously,
Yeah.
you know what
Yeah.
I mean?
No, I get it.
Methamphetamine, cocaine, heroin, whatever. How can you even justify those alongside alcohol, right? Let
Yeah.
alone marijuana. Like it doesn't even make zero sense.
Yeah. I think that you're talking to someone who, little background, I smoked a lot of weed. Um, Now, I understand mandatory carry CBD is not. That's why I'm saying I don't take the THC side of CBD. Now, CBD gummies and oil do help me for pain relief. Um, it is what it is, and I have a lot of pain that I go through on a daily basis, so it does help
Yeah.
my pain relief side.
Well, and
Helps me sleep a little bit, but I'm not looking to get high off of it.
yeah,
I smoked a lot of weed growing up, and so I'm a proponent of marijuana. I think that it is good in a lot of ways. There are significantly less medical deterrence of marijuana towards the other quote unquote hard drugs that are
yeah,
illegal
or even alcohol, or
or
even
even
alcohol.
alcohol.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And the thing is, like, it's going to affect everybody differently. I mean, that's just the nature of drugs. I mean, even if
Yeah.
you're at the doctor, you got the, consult your doctor. Anytime you hear of a new drug on the market, right? It's like
Sure.
consult your doctor. There's a reason, because depending on what conditions you have and your biological makeup and a lot of other things, that particular drug, even marijuana, you're going to feel different. It's going to affect you
Yep.
differently, right? Maybe it makes you tired and sleepy, right? Maybe it, does make you high, and
Yeah.
in that state of high, you're more creative, right? Look at the
Look at the
uh,
Beatles.
look at the art scene. Look at the yeah. So I was going to say, look at the arts, right? What I was going to say, rather than
Music in general. Yeah.
just music, but look at the arts and how it's applied there, right?
Yep.
Um, it can make you paranoid.
Yep.
On the same
The
token, I mean, it runs
Yep.
again like violence. I've never seen violence as a side effect, but it
No.
does affect people differently.
Yeah. I would say that over the counter cold and flu medicine, they have a Dayquil and a NyQuil. You take some NyQuil, you're going to be just as messed up as you would if you were smoking a joint, maybe even worse. And you can buy that stuff over the counter. Like, I'm serious. If you take 3 or 4 of those NyQuil pills, I've seen people literally just fall asleep within minutes. It
and especially if you do the shots that little shot glasses they come with. Yeah,
absolutely. That can put you to sleep and make you basically a zombie right away. And you can buy that over the counter.
Yep.
So, yeah. It's just one of those things. I think it's going in the direction that it needs to go as far as the weed side of it.
Hey,
I suspect in the next 10 minutes, 10 years, hopefully it'll be looked at the same way as alcohol is.
Let's pause for the cause real quick.
Mm-hmm.
And talk about. I'll throw a link out there. But the Ghost and Clover sweepstakes, we've got probably the end of this week. If we don't hit sell, all 200 of the tickets before then, the end of this week, we'll go ahead and draw. But we're getting close. I mean, there's only about 30 spots left, thanks to 2A EDU. The other night we closed that gap on getting all 200 of them sold, and we certainly want to do that before and pick the winners and all that stuff before we get to Vegas. So keep in mind, because I did have some people do that. I had some people that bought 4. There was somebody the other night that bought 4, and I'm like, I messaged
buy one
them,
more.
and I said, if you realize if you get 5, you get an extra entry, right? And then there was also some that had bought like 2, and then they turned around and bought like 2 more. And I'm like, hey, you realize if you do 5, you get the free entry. So just keep that in mind. And like I said, we've got about 30. So if you haven't gotten them already, the window's closing down.
About another week or so, and we'll be able to draw.
And odds are. I mean, there's only 200 entries. So
but there are very few. The good thing is there are very few people that are just buying one. So it's not going to be 1 out of 200. If you buy, it's going to be much less than that, because most people are buying multiple. So there's not going to be 200 individuals in that drawing. It's going to be probably half that, maybe, or whatever.
We've got several that have bought 10. Now, some of those that have bought 10, and thank you to those folks. You know who you are. They've donated. They bought 10 and then donated those entries. That's another thing keep in mind you can do. You can pick them up and then shoot us a message, a DM, an email, something, and say, hey, I want my stickers, but give my entries to whoever. Donate my entries, and
some of these people don't even tell who they're donating. Like the people who are being donated don't know that they might win. They don't even know it.
Yeah, they won't even know. Yeah. Which is really, really cool. So
now She Fires brings up a good topic. She says for the pop-up time, you should get a pop-up timer for the pop-up, the timer for the pop-up topics. So if we do a pop-up, maybe like, hey, we got 10 minutes on this. We put a timer up there, and after 10 minutes, we close that down and go to a different one. I'm sorry. Go ahead. My bad. I saw I had a squirrel moment there. Sorry.
Yeah, there are. There are some timers. It'd be really easy to put have a timer video, countdown, a little video we could throw on the screen or do something. Yeah.
Or we just put a timer on our phone and say, okay, guys, we got 10 minutes. Clock starts now. And
but if we
blah,
put
blah, blah, blah.
If we put it on the screen, it's right there in front of us. So we know it's closing down.
This is true.
That's one thing that I want to do is once we get to the time limit, I mean, there's no more chasing rabbit holes. It's like moving on. Right. We're going to have to do that.
When we start seeing it get to 9 minutes, then we're both going to have our little closing 30-second
close it out.
Close it, and then 10-minute mark, we go to the next topic or whatever. Jump. Yeah, absolutely.
Yep. Add spot if we have that sponsor or whatever, and jump to the next thing.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, for sure. I think it's going to be fun. I think that we're going to have fun doing it, whether or not people enjoy it or not. I think that it's going to be fun to do, just because it's going to be stuff that we talk about a lot privately. And I'm sure everyone out there, like, you're on a phone call back and forth with your buddies, and you're like, man, that would be a great podcast if we were recording that, Well, and that's kind of what we want to do, Here's
an idea. If you're somebody out there that's thinking about that, I've said it for many years. Turn on the
Do it.
camera, turn on the
Just do it.
microphone.
Yeah, there's a reason why the Nike motto "Just do it" always works. Here's one for us. Buck out there wants to know, what guns are you and Clover looking to get in 2023? I just did a video put out yesterday or Saturday or Friday, whenever it was, a couple days ago. I put it out about the top 5 guns that I'm looking forward to seeing that are just released that I'm looking forward to see at SHOT Show. And a few of those might be ones that I'm looking to get in 2023. Obviously, I can't wait for the EAA branded 2311, the Witness 2311. That's going to be an awesome gun. I'm not a big, I keep saying this every year, I'm not a big revolver guy, but I can't say which one, but I have a feeling in 2023 I'll get a revolver. And if that bullpup revolver becomes a thing, I don't know if I don't know. Just that thing is so innovative, and I hope it works. I really do. I hope it works.
Yeah, it's weird. It's definitely a weird one. I put it up there with, as far as weird, maybe the Medusa, maybe the Hudson, and that may be what's problematic about it.
So interestingly, you brought in the Hudson, because let me ask you this: if they would have waited 6 months to a year to release the Hudson, the H9, I'm assuming is what you're talking about, and maybe work out some of the problems that it ended up having, I think the Hudson could have been a game changer. But I think they probably rushed that to market a little bit too early. There's no telling what the market could look like had they waited just a little bit longer to release it, make sure you get all the kinks out of it, because I think the H9 was a really innovative gun.
Well, there's a sweet spot, and then you have to be in a position to scale.
Yeah, sure.
I watch
sure.
a lot of Shark Tank. I love Shark Tank.
Oh, I do
right?
too. I love it. Yeah.
And it's just because it gets you a lot of behind the scenes and kind of thinking. I mean, I had a business for 18 years, and so, you learn a lot and have to do a lot when you're in that capacity, and it translates over when you look at these companies, and with the Hudson, it's one of them, that their ability to quickly scale, which is what they needed to, it simply wasn't there.
Well, the interesting thing, and I know that some are, like, some of the patents for guns, they run out in about 10 years, and it's coming up within the next couple, 3 years. As that Hudson was what, 2016, something like that. So in the next 3, 4, 5 years, maybe possibly that Hudson patent could run out, and you might start seeing some of these companies in the next few years taking that design and making the necessary tweaks and all of that, where you could start seeing some of those Hudsons come out under different brands possibly in the next few years. I know that could be interesting.
Could be. Yeah. And that's one of the things that's detrimental too. You realize the time that a lot of companies will file that patent, and then it may be 6, 7, 8 years before they even get something to market.
This is true. Yeah.
And like they release it, and they've got a couple of years being the big dog with the hot new thing, and then here
everyone has it.
Yep. Everybody is copying it, knocking it off, and sometimes making it better. Let's be honest, but knocking it off nonetheless.
Well, we've seen a lot of companies over especially the last few years, with the 92 clones, and obviously the 1911s has been a big thing for a long time, where people are always doing better things than the original. I think the original Colt design is a great 1911, but let's be honest, some of the stuff they're able to do now with machining and all of that stuff are just making 1911s better. But yeah, the Regard, the 92, the PT 92, I mean, these are, and I'm a Beretta 92 fan. I'm a fanboy, and you are too. But I think we all have to understand and acknowledge the fact that some of these quote unquote clones of the 92 are much better than the Beretta side, because they've taken what's good from the Beretta 92 and upgraded and made better some of the faults of the 92, and just made it a better ergonomical, better cycling, better, everything about it. There are certain things the Regard and the PT92 bring to the table that are better than what Beretta did with it.
Yeah, and as you learn more in the community or in the industry, and you navigate through the industry a little more, you really start to, and especially if you're working with smaller companies, you really start to see how the big dogs take an awful lot for granted. They
A little
Not that
arrogant,
they,
especially Beretta. I love Beretta, but they're very
yeah,
arrogant.
I mean, the oldest arms manufacturer in the world, right?
Yeah, yeah,
By far, by like leaps and bounds, like hundreds of years. So I mean, they got a little bit of room to flex, sure. But at the same time, um, you need to be a little more realistic about things, I think, and look at stuff. I've seen, and then there's new companies that do the same thing. They come in, and they throw something out, and yeah, okay, it's cool or whatever, and then their price point is just they tout their price point, but yet at the
yeah.
same time their price point's insane, and it's
Well,
like,
let's
what are
look.
you
Let's
doing?
look what Canik did. Canik basically came to market whatever it was, 5, 6 years ago with the Walther clone. That's basically what it was, a Walther clone. They did some things differently. They made some choices on how to make it a little more ergonomical, maybe make it different. The TP9 is a Walther clone,
Yeah.
but they did it better when they came at a price point. And now look at Canik. I don't think I think 5 years ago Canik was still kind of an obscure gun company from Turkey that no one really knew about. And then all of a sudden, the last few years, especially, Canik has taken off. And let's be honest, Canik is a major player in the gun world now. And they started by taking a great design by Walther, and in their minds, and in a lot of ways, making it a little bit better and making it affordable and all of this, that, and the other. And look where they are now. So they're making their own guns now that are not based off of clones anymore. But that's how they started out. And let's make no mistake about it. We're friends with EAA and Gerson, and they're very proud of doing the 1911s and their guards and all that. But they do it in a way that still paying homage to that original design. But hey, we can make it better. Let's not say that the 92 is a bad gun, but
Yep.
let's just say that ours is better, and
Right.
it is.
Well, and it's like the $6 million man. We have the technology, right?
Sure.
And
Hmm.
so you look at the designs, you look at the 92s, you look at you look at the 1911s, you look at the speaking of Gerson, I mean, look at the MC312, which is
Yeah.
a Benelli knockoff or a Benelli clone, right? And you know what you're seeing in those is you're seeing a company taking an old design and then utilizing modern technology in
Yeah.
machining and everything else to make that better.
And not saying that original Benelli design was bad.
Right.
They're paying homage to this. They want
Right.
this to be an homage to it. But like you said, but we can maybe do it a little bit better. You sit there with the 312 or the 92 or whatever you want to say, the high power, if you will, they came out with this year, and say, look, these are great designs. But let's make no mistake about it. It's different. It's 100 years later since the high power came out.
Right.
You're telling me that we can't do certain things a little better. We also know what maybe the downfalls of the high power are, what some of the things that people over the last 100 years have complained about the high power. We
Yep.
can still give homage to the high power and say it is one of the best designs ever.
Well,
It's definitely one of the most influential designs ever, but we can make it a little bit better.
and so we know of a company that is going to have a couple of new, quote unquote, new models at SHOT Show that released their first model at SHOT 22.
Correct.
And
Yep.
that's one of the reasons they're releasing is they have listened to feedback.
Yep.
How could this be better? What options, do people want? That sort of thing. And so, we can't really drop any info on that yet, but there are a couple of new models coming.
Absolutely.
Simply because that company has listened to the customers, the folks that they've sent stuff out for, review and testing and that
Testing
sort of
and
thing.
evaluation. They
Yeah.
actually are listening to the evaluation of that testing that we're
Yep.
giving them.
Yep. Which is awesome.
Yeah, and that's how it's supposed to play. That's how it's supposed to work, and that's why, guys, when we talk about this is this is something that I want to bring up, and I'm sure Clover, you would probably agree with me. First of all, thank you to everyone out there that watches my content and Clover's content. There is a large number of crossover, but obviously there's a lot of people that are more into the tactical stuff that watch my channel that may not watch Clover's, and vice versa. So there's people out there, but here's the thing. When we're reviewing a gun, I love getting comments. Hey, great video, blah, blah. Those are great to have because it lets you know, hey, you've done something that people appreciate or enjoy. But
Right.
ultimately, what I would rather you guys have is, first of all, you're not going to hurt my feelings. It's not my gun. I didn't design the gun.
Right.
What I would love to have is when you start seeing, not just on my channel or Clover's, but any review, gun review that you watch out on YouTube, and you're watching it and it's something that you watch, leave a comment and ask questions, or comment on, I wish it wouldn't have the thumb safety there, or I wish maybe it had an enlarged mag release button, or whatever those comments are. Because when we're doing videos, yes, we are introducing them to the world for these companies, but we're also there to give feedback to the manufacturer. Now, obviously, Clover and I are going to have our own feedback. We're going to have our own comments that we're going to give to these manufacturers and these companies. But wouldn't it be great if we had, I'll say, well, here are my 3, but I've had about 7 or 8 more in my comments in the last week, and they're wanting to know questions. They're wanting to know why it's done this way. That way, when we truly do give our evaluations back to the company, we can not only give them our opinions, but questions and opinions from you guys that says, hey, the end user is saying from this video, they wish maybe this is, because guess what? There could be a 2.0 coming next year, or they might go back and redesign something and rebrand it or something else. But I mean, they will take all of those. I should say, the good companies will take the evaluations from us and from the end user, the consumers, which are you guys, in consideration. If they're doing their jobs right, they will. And so for a resolution, if you want to call it that, for 2023, I'm asking everybody, when you guys watch a gun review video that I do, like, help us out by asking specific questions about the firearm, or commenting, hey, I don't know if it's that, but it looks like it's this. I don't know if that's something good. It probably wouldn't fit my hand. I have larger hands. Give a little bit of context so that we can sit there and say, look, I'm a small guy with small hands. It feels great in my hands, but this guy's worried that maybe with larger hands, it may not fit for them right. They do listen. A lot of these companies do listen to that constructive criticism. So that'd be kind of a cool thing to have you guys do on our videos.
Shout out real quick. We were talking about crossover early, but there's
Yeah.
Trucker Tim.
Hey,
out there.
Double T
What's up?
Sports. How about
What's up,
that?
Tim? Tim is over on the card community side of things. Is where he came in from. So
There you go.
welcome him in, folks. Anyway,
Welcome to the dark side.
yeah, you also got to, and most people, I think most people watching know this, but I'm going to throw it out there just in case they don't. But you've got companies that send out product that legitimately want feedback, and they will
Yeah.
make changes if if it's possible to make those changes. The changes are valid, if it's feasible, reasonable, whatever, right? And then you've got companies, and this is the vast majority of companies, sadly, because we're talking about bigger companies, Springfield, that vomit product to anybody and everybody with a camera, an Instagram account, or whatever. And they are not interested in feedback.
Yeah.
They're not going to
Yeah.
listen to feedback. They don't freaking care. And that person is not testing anything or really making a big contribution.
You're
They're
doing a
sending
commercial.
they're sending stuff out for promotional purposes. Make no
Correct.
mistake about it. It's not,
Yeah.
it's not in the industry or with creators. It's typically T&E, test and evaluation.
Yeah.
And with the bigger companies, yeah, I mean they still call it T&E, but let's be real, it's not. It's promotion.
And maybe that's something that us as creators can do better in our videos, saying, hey, and I was just, I'm not say us, I'll say I need to, because I can speak for only myself. Maybe I can do a lot better. Hey guys, make a thing in a video. Hey guys, look, I'm gonna be giving some feedback to the company about this gun. Please put down in the comments anything you like, anything you dislike, any questions you have, because I need to send some information back to this company. Help me out from your side of it. Maybe I can do a better job of asking people to put those in the comments as well. So that might be something I try to do a little differently this year. Let's see here. Marcus, man, Marcus is on fire tonight. Lately, I've been seeing switch guns with suppressors, which is cool. With this, but the suppressors are twice the size of the gun. Doesn't that defeat the purpose of small credit card size gun? Well, understand also, and I'll let Clover jump in on this as well. But this is my thoughts on suppressors. Typically, typically, suppressors outside of the plinking world. Okay, outside of if you're going to use them, whether it's a rifle or a gun for anything like competition shooting or operating or whatever, suppressors aren't typically going to be used on CCW style guns anyways. That's not the purpose of a suppressor. That's really not the purpose of a CCW gun, because let's make it fact. Who wants to carry a gun with a suppressor? That's just it's not going to be worth it. So as far as being the defeat of a small credit card size gun, I don't think that those size guns are the target gun for suppressors to begin with. That's just my opinion. Clover, what do you think?
I don't know.
We're talking about the larger 6-inch, suppressors that might go on a
Bitty
a
gun.
4-inch barreled handgun.
Yeah, I mean, do you want it quiet? I mean, it's a trade-off. You know what I
Sure.
mean? It's a trade-off you get. Um, if you go with a shorter suppressor, it's going to be louder. I mean, it's just physics or
Yeah.
engineering or whatever, I guess, right? Um, so I mean, it's just I mean, that's something you deal with. You want it quiet, yeah, it's going to be bigger. It's going to be awkward.
Yeah.
I don't see any way. I don't see any way around that. The only possible way, to get. Hang on a sec.
Yep.
To get maximum quietness with minimal length, you pretty much got to go integral at that point. Not like screw on. And if you
Yeah.
go integral, then maintenance is a little more difficult. Transportation to and from and with that firearm, across state lines currently, and other
Price
things,
is price
more
is going to
difficult.
be a factor at that point.
Price is going to be different. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of things that go into integral, but that's the route to go if you're concerned about the size and the uh, and the quiet.
Yeah,
But
and like I said, for me, it's just one of those as he calls the credit card size guns. And let's talk about like the micro guns that have come out the last 5 years for concealed carry. Those, first of all, very few of those guns are threaded. Let's just be honest. Those guns
yeah,
weren't designed to run a 6-inch suppressor on. They weren't designed for that. They were to be concealed carry guns. Once again, concealed carry guns, it's going to be very difficult for someone to carry one with a suppressor on it. So, I mean, it's one of those things where when you're talking suppressors and you're talking concealed carry, I think they're two opposite ends of the spectrum. That's just my opinion.
right.
Let's see here. Let's go through here and see if anything out there that people want to talk about. We've been going for an hour now, so can I start closing down? Like I said, yeah. Okay, one last question for Marcus. If you could only have one shotgun, what would you rather have? A pump, semi-automatic, break open, or cylinder? I'll give you my opinion in a second, but I will go with let Clover decide this one first. He's more about the shotguns than I am.
Where was his comment?
Right here, the very last, it says, if you could only
Oh,
have one shotgun, would you rather have a pump, semi, break open, or cylinder?
it's tough, man. God, so tough. Probably pump.
Yeah,
Probably pump. Um, you got semi-auto is going to be out, simply because of ammunition and how picky he's going to be and that sort of stuff. Break action, over and unders, your things like that. Typically, unless you're talking about a unless you're talking about a side by side or an over and under that has removable chokes, right? Um, Probably not going to get that in like just a cheap single shot. It's going to be a fixed choke, so you're going to be limited by that. Even in the over and under, though, if you get into a situation where you need more than one quick follow up, that's potentially problematic. Where you can get 5 rounds or so with the pump. So a lot of reasons that I say pump. I don't know if I was ever forced with that. I don't know where I would go with it, but I think I go pump.
Yeah, I go pump as well. For me, the only, honestly, the only reason on a consistent basis that I would actually utilize a shotgun in my life would possibly maybe be for home defense. And I don't even think that I really use it for home defense, but I would, that would be one of the reasons why. And the pump, I think, gives you a lot of advantages in that type of scenario. One of which is just the racking of the pump. Everyone knows that sound, and that could be a deterrent on its own for someone to get the hell out of your house if that happens. But I'm not a big shotgun user, so that's just not me. But if I probably had to choose one style, if I could only have one, it'd probably be a pump as well. Yeah. Mandatory carry says semi-auto is out because Clover hates self-loaders. I think he's trolling a little bit.
There's some truth to that.
There is a little bit of truth to that, yeah.
It's okay.
Now, Sam says, I love that threaded pistol barrels have become more and more popular, especially for home defense and carry, even if they're not planning to use a suppressor. Yeah, and I do agree with that. I think that you have seen the last few years the threaded barrel, as far as the handgun side, the pistol side of things, has become a lot more prevalent. And at least gives you options. Whether one you want to do with it or not is up to you, but it's giving you the option to do that if you like.
Yep.
Yeah. All right. So we've gone a little over an hour. We just kind of want to come on here and say Happy New Year, kind of tell everybody kind of what we're planning with this podcast. Probably maybe February. Like I said, we got the next 2 weeks, get ready for SHOT. Then we go to SHOT and then coming back, we're going to have a couple of weeks. It might start February, maybe even March somewhere, because we do have a lot of logistics to think about. We have artwork, we got shows, we've got a lot of different stuff going on. So sometime in the first quarter of this year, the Ghost and Clover podcast will be live and a real thing. But we got intros, outros, we got sponsors to think about. We've got artwork. We've got all sorts of setting up the YouTube channel, setting up the podcast side of it. Everything and anything that we have to do has to get done before we even start this, because we're not going to be ones that just kind of start this half-ass and do it by the flip of the hair. We're going to do it the right way. So in the first quarter, sometime you should probably see the Ghost and Clover become a real thing. Yeah, go for it if you want to.
Oh, I was just going to throw this out there. Kind of a world premiere, since we were just kind of playing around. I haven't had a chance to get out and even put any rounds through the thing yet, but we were talking about threaded barrels, and while this is not a threaded barrel, the one of the perks of a threaded barrel is potentially you could run a compensator. And so this is the Gerson MC 1911 10mm carry in the black with silver compensator, which can be changed out with a regular bushing, which is nice. It's a bushing compensator. And then the two-tone controls there, so pretty slick. Looking forward to playing with that over the next few days, hopefully, if the weather will cooperate.
Yeah, and if you guys have been paying attention to my Instagram or YouTube, you've seen a short with my 10mm Gerson 1911. Doesn't have the compensator. It's it's got a rail and all that, but it's the kind of the matte gray. They call it the stainless version, but it's actually a matte gray. Really, really solid looking. I'm on my phone. I can't bring it up on my screen because maybe
you've got a video out.
I do. I've got a short out there, but on Instagram and a reel, and over on YouTube, I got a little short. And it's a really cool gun. So those are the world premieres, like the first two that were sent out. So we're very happy about that. So yeah, those are kind of cool. If you're a 10mm fan, you're a 1911 fan, Boy, you're getting ready to have a really good time with these guns for sure. Snob says,
I can screen share. I'll screen share your version. So there's that
okay.
one, and then I'll get over here and I think I can screen share so folks can see that matte version you were talking about.
Now, Snob out there, this is a little birdie, said that he had sent you
Okay.
that one, Clover, the compensator, so didn't you break your little wrist. So that might be true too.
Was that what it was?
But yeah, so that's it's actually stainless, but it's actually in person. It's more of a matte gray, matte silver finish. It's really pretty gun.
All right.
But yeah, these are there's another version. I think it's a two-tone. I think it's a stainless slide with the black lower frame. I think is the other version. But I think that yours,
yours is the reverse of mine. Yours is silver with black controls, and mine's black with silver controls.
Right. And I think there is a stainless slide and a black frame version, also a two-tone version. But yeah, they're great guns, and especially if you're a 10 millimeter fan. First of all, if you're looking for 10 millimeter ammo, go check out both of our buddies over at True Shot Gun Club. They've got some raging deals on 10 millimeter ammo right now that cheaper than you're going to find anywhere else.
Yeah, I dropped a link on the community tab the other day, and somebody had said something about it, and I went over there and actually followed that link because I'm like, they probably don't have any more of that. It was at such a good price. And anyway, I followed the link, and sure enough, in stock. I was surprised. I was like, holy moly, look at this.
And to answer Sam's question, yes, that 1911 comes in 45 and 9 also. They just added the 10 millimeter line to it, in the last week. If you're going to SHOT Show, you'll be able to shoot this gun at SHOT Show. You'll also be able to shoot at the EAA booth of the Witness 2311. That will be at SHOT Show Range Day. So they'll have both of those. But yeah, if you guys like 10 millimeter, man, I'm telling you, you're going to love this. Yeah, Snob's getting one of the, finally, he's only been a long time, but I think Snob is actually getting ready to get one of the P35 high power clones, but it's got the optic in it. And I just got the 1911 9mm subcompact SC Ultimate with an optic. And yeah, it's once again, I'm a little iffy about having optics on pistols, but I'm gonna wait and see. I'm gonna hold my judgment until this testing's over with for sure. But yeah, EAA Gerson are coming out with some phenomenal guns. They're already out now, some that are coming out, and without giving anything out, Clover and I are a little privy to some information about stuff that's could be coming down the line. And yes, they're our friends. Yes, Chase is an actual friend of ours, but that doesn't mean we can't talk good about EAA. They've got some stuff that are going to change the market pretty soon. So make sure you're following them as well on Instagram and YouTube.
Yeah, I think so.
Anything that you want to bring up before we get out of here?
I think we did it.
All right. Well, this has kind of been the Happy New Year, the first Ghost and Clover 2023, kind of the prelude to what the podcast is going to be about. And I want to say thank you to everyone that's been watching and all that. But more importantly, I want to say thank you to everyone out there that's been given kind of some ideas on how we can do this. And I love the idea about the wheel of topics or whatever, the random topic size of thing. I think that could bring a really interesting part of this to do that. So we're going to go ahead and get out of here and say thank you to everybody and Happy New Year. And we'll see you Tuesday night on my channel for the Armed Citizen podcast. We have Lionheart is going to be coming and talking about some of the stuff that they're taking to SHOT Show and all of that stuff. But thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you soon.
Bye.